30 Odd Minutes is sponsored in part by Digital Dowsing. Who are you powered by?
For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomenon in our own backyard. We will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Hey! Welcome! Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. We have set the mothership down in Oman in this beautiful cave behind me, where the translation means the meeting place of the Jinn, because tonight we're talking about the Jinn. Makes sense, right? So that's why we've parked the mothership in this cave. Don't ask how we got in here. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand. Want to say hello to our illustrious crew in the control center. Matt and Andrew, how are you guys?
Excellent.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Dr. Drek in person?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I left the Bunsen burner on, and it got into contact with some dangerous chemicals, and the fumes just filled up the place, and Bunsen got real mad. So I had to leave and get out here where there's some air. But it's nice to be out here. I mean, you haven't let me out for a long time. Is Truman still president? I haven't talked to him since Roswell.
Yeah. Truman is still president. And Dr. Drek, let us remind you why we don't let you out very much. Say hello to Laura in our communication center. How are you, Laura? Laura.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just really into this book. It's awesome. Hi, hello. We have a message to Falls Area Community Television in Bellows Falls, Vermont.
Yay!
I love Vermont, skiing. Anyways, thank you guys for broadcasting the mothership signal, because we know that it's too cold there for us to land, at least until June, so keep broadcasting while we're hovering around in the warmer areas of town. That's it.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
And we do have an email from our dear friend Karen Bailey from Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. She says, "Dear Oddballs, my friends don't believe that I saw the mothership flying over my house. They think I'm crazy. How can I get them to believe that you guys are real?" Well, Karen, you're crazy, and we're not real.
Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Thank you.
And by the way, you can always email us at any time at info@30oddminutes.com. And shamelessly, I will plug, you can see us, you can check us out on Facebook at /30oddminutes, and follow us on Twitter at 30oddminutes, and we will try to answer you if you do message us.
Aw, thank you.
Should Matt and I visit her down in Carolinas there and persuade her she saw nothing?
I think that would be awkward if you did.
Okay.
I don't know, Karen, do you want them visiting you? I don't know.
You have to wear the black suit. Okay, Dr. Drek, I have to ask you, because we don't get you here up in the upper decks very often. We like to keep you below.
I'm usually in the stack decks.
Right. Have you heard of the Jinn before? Any experience with that?
Just with tonic.
Right.
My favorite kind of
There
gin.
will be gin and tonic references all night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome up above. It's good to have you here. Thank you. All right, let's get to it. Rub the lamp 3 times and the genie comes out to grant you 3 wishes, right? If we believe Disney films, the great and powerful genie not only has a sense of humor, but he can sing. But the real character behind the genie is not so nice and not so well understood. The jinn has been part of Middle Eastern legend for many centuries. It's referenced in the Quran and has since made its way into popular culture, movies, songs, and a new graphic novel series called Jinn Warriors. Tonight's guest is the creator of this series. He's been studying the legend of the jinn for many years and is here to tell us it's more than just a story. Please welcome, live from Toronto, Marwan El Nashar.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Sorry we had a little connection problem. It's not that Marwan is standing really, really still. That's a photograph. He's a very animated person, I'm sure. He's not just...
It's just very cold up in Toronto.
Right, just very cold in Toronto.
I'm frozen.
That's right. So let's start at the beginning. What is or what are the jinn?
So jinn are believed to be creatures created just after the angels, and they were given free will, much like we are. They're believed to be created from smokeless fire, And actually, Satan is believed to be the father of all jinn, much as Adam is the father of humanity.
Right.
And from there onwards, the story pretty much of Genesis and the animosity between the demons or the jinn race and humans begins.
And so this is referenced in the Quran, correct?
It is referenced in the Quran over several passages. There is an entire chapter dedicated for jinn called Jinn. And it's pretty much, very much part of our religious beliefs and culture.
Okay, and where are you from originally? I know you're in Toronto now in Canada. Where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in Egypt. I've been living here in Toronto for 7 years now.
Oh, and now are the jinns something that's discussed in everyday life? Back home in Egypt, is that something that would it be comparable to say demons in Christianity, where people might talk about there's a demon that influenced you? Is it that popular, or is it something that's just a story mainly?
No, it comes up in daily conversations. It's pretty much like the evil eye, for example, is generated by the jinn. And we say that you might have an evil twin, which is a jinn, and influence you. So it's pretty much what demons are in Christianity. Jinn are, except that jinn can be good or bad or just mischievous.
Now that's interesting because in Jewish folklore and mythology, there's the idea of a dybbuk, and the dybbuk is could be good or bad, and the dybbuk would cling to a living person and influence them in a good way or a bad way. And the ritual of exorcism in Judaism is to blow the shofar and try to separate these two beings and heal them both. What happens if someone's being influenced by a jinn? Is there an exorcism protocol in the spirituality?
Yes, of course. As you know, the Jewish culture and religion is very much intertwined with the Middle Eastern and Islamic traditions.
Sure.
And so the dybbuk is very much like the jinn. And in more Arabic countries, there is a ritual called the Zar, which is spelled Z-A-R. Mm-hmm. And it's a ritual done with it's pretty much an exorcism to drive out the demons or the jinn that possesses a person. As we mentioned, it could be good or bad, but in either case, they're not really wanted within the human body.
Right. Marwan, we actually have a video clip to show of the Zar dance. We're going to show this. It's just about a minute. Hang tight. Let's take a look at this dance that we're talking about, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so I know you've seen this clip before, Marwan. It's disturbing. These people seem to be under some kind of spell, whether it's ecstatic or otherwise. So you're saying this is what a exorcism looks like?
Yeah, pretty much in the Middle East, that's what it looks like. It's as you've seen, there's a lot of drums, a lot of chanting, there's a lot of burning of incense, and all that is meant to provoke and invoke the spirit possessing the person, and eventually drive them away. A lot of the time it's accompanied by parts of the Quran which are designed to drive out evil spirits. And so these go hand in hand. Of course, just the ritual itself is disturbing, it's mesmerizing, and it sort of puts a person in a trance. I've attended a few of those myself, and I can attribute a supernatural quality or a paranormal quality to the ritual.
You've gone through it or just witnessed it?
No, I just witnessed it.
Oh, I
just witnessed it, yes.
And
I've been told I have a good jinn living within me, but I've never really tried to drive him out or anything.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, Marwan, Matt Moniz over in our control center has a question. Matt.
Well, it's actually more of a statement.
Okay.
I'm part Native American, and we have a lot of the same type of tribal dance and drum beating doing the same thing. So I think this is something culturally that reaches across continents.
Right. And Dr. Drek, you, of course, you have all these songs on your iPod, I believe, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
And
shuffle play.
Jeff, talking about Native American, Jeff and I, Matt and I were looking into the a sighting of a pugwudgie this weekend. And when he talks about the Jinn, it almost sounds a little bit like the pugwudgie. You know, they were good, and then they became mischievous, and they were created by the Creator God, and then sent out into the world. There are similarities, aren't there?
They have a lot of the shared traits.
Right.
Right, and pugwudgies, shapeshifters,
yes.
right? And Jinn, shapeshifters, right, Marwan?
Yes, they are. By the nature of being made of fire or smokeless fire, they don't really have that much mass, and hence can change their shapes.
Which is how...
Which
is how they fit into the lamp, right?
Yes.
No, I mean, I know it sounds like a joke, but I mean, the genie of the lamp. How did we get from the Jinn, these beings from the underworld, to a genie stuck in a lamp, which has become so synonymous with so many Disney films and things like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the origins of a genie in a lamp is 1001 Arabian Nights.
Right.
It's part of the old traditional Arabic literature, and the story of Aladdin, of a genie trapped in a lamp. But these stories have actually originated far deeper than that. They come from King Solomon of Israel.
Yep.
Where it is said in the Quran that he has managed to control and sort of enslave jinn. And hence the stories then transmitted from the Quran or from the legends of King Solomon into the modern mythology, and of course into the Disney animations. Even movies and other adaptations of that have a similar origins.
Right. And before we get too far ahead, I want to get back to the Czar dance real quick. Now, you said you witnessed it. Do you believe there was a transformation that occurred between the person that was doing the dancing, kind of a before and after? Did you witness something that you felt was really more than just everyday trance?
I definitely did, and not only that, Charles, I followed up with that person because it was part of a paper I was doing when I was living in Egypt, and I saw a real change in the person. And it's hard to attribute it to whether it was an actual possession or it's sort of a therapy, like going to a psychiatrist.
Sure.
But I've definitely seen that transformation right on the spot, and I've seen in my follow-up sessions with them that they have really been relieved of a certain pressure or anxiety. And I've seen even some physical changes about them. They weren't, before the Tsar, they weren't eating. They were really pale and weak, and then after that, the appetite was back, and they were much healthier.
So do you, from your perspective, the Jinn, just a story or something real that's tangible and in our world?
No, I think it's very real. It's very tangible. I even looked into science to sort of explain it a bit, and the prevalent quantum physics theory of the string theory dictates that we have 11 dimensions, and that's the most widely accepted theory right now. So by definition, we could have things coexisting with us in our space, but in a different dimension. And I think that fits the theory very well. And most people believe, and every culture has stories of demons and angels. And so that makes it a little more even realistic and acceptable. But the Jinn is, for me, is a reality. Is a fact based on research, not just, blind faith.
Right, understood. Okay. Marwan, we have a question for you from Laura. Laura, take it away.
Well, actually, we have a few people here asking questions that are kind of interesting, and I feel like maybe we need a bit of a better explanation in general what Jinn is. And I know, Marwan, you know very well, and I myself have done research in that aspect as well, and have a pretty good idea of the idea of Jinn. And just to clarify to everyone who's asking questions here, Jinn are essentially beings that exist in a parallel dimension to us. They are all around us, and they live in their own space. They do their own thing. They're basically another race that we cannot see. They live in their own space, but around us. So there's different kinds of jinn, some which are bad, some which are good, different shapes of jinn. And so they're just normal beings, essentially, and somehow, sometimes they intertwine into our lives, which is, I think, what Marwan's kind of theory of the paranormal world dives into. And I was actually going to ask you, Marwan, what is your theory, and how is it that you think the jinn existence explains all paranormal activity?
Well, first, thank you, Laura. Your explanation was very right on the spot there, explaining that they are an actual different race, and that they coexist around us. As far as my theory goes, when Einstein was alive, he tried to have a unifying theory of the universe, where everything is in sync, everything is explainable, and it would be just one theory. I was trying to do the same when it comes to the paranormal. We have a lot of, even more recently, UFO sightings, but there's a theory of ancient aliens that we were visited in the past by aliens. There's been ghost sightings and haunted places around for forever. As well as paranormal sightings of Bigfoot and Sasquatch. And all these must have, in my mind, have one strong common root. And upon research, I realized that this root must be the jinn. If we believe that the jinn do exist and they're shapeshifters, and they can, for brief instances, appear to us, then they can account for all these paranormal sightings. A lot of the UFO sightings of alien ships or strange lights break the laws of physics in terms of how they maneuver in the skies, how they break the G-forces, and all that points out to that the UFO and UFO sightings are not flesh and blood creatures, because going that high G-forces would crush any flesh and blood being.
Right.
So that led me to think that they are more of a spiritual, intangible creatures. And that goes as well for ghosts. As far as my research shows, once you're dead, you're dead. Your spirit doesn't linger, you move on, and that is basically it. It's not like a two-way door. And then this is where the jinn comes in, because the jinn were existing around that dead person, and you just emulate him, or take over his image and reappear to humans, and hence give the illusion of him being a ghost.
Right. Actually, Marwan, Laura has a follow-up for you too. Please.
Yeah, what I find really interesting is that in the belief system, jinn are actually they have free will. Which is unlike angels, because angels are inherently good. Jinn are not inherently good, but they're also not inherently bad. And so, for example, there's different kinds of jinn, as I said earlier, and there's the kind they call marid, which is in another. I'm not sure if it's related to the word sick, but they're meant to be the biggest ones, but they're actually gentle giants. So I'm wondering, because you mentioned the Sasquatch, and I know we've talked about this particular topic for the last two landings that we've had in the mothership, and I was just wondering if you think that Bigfoot or the Sasquatch is actually one of those jinn, the marid.
Right. Or the Nephilim, right? The Nephilim is the same description.
Yes, the giant Nephilim. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. And I mean, if you take account of all the paranormal, there's so many, explanations for them. But I believe the jinn is one theory that can explain away all these sightings, including the Nephilims and Sasquatch being, a gentle giant, and the married jinn being such a huge creature, a massive size-wise.
Right.
So again, they can explain that way, as well as of werewolves, which is also another phenomenon that has been witnessed and people have seen it, is that they can be explained away by shape-shifting creatures, extra-dimensional creatures,
right,
that just are basically causing mischief.
Right. All right, Marwan, hold tight. We have to take a break for the news. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the theory of what these things could be, and we're going to see a video clip that might blow your mind. We'll be right back.
Authorities in Sequoia County, Oklahoma, say that the recent death of a man in the town of Mudlow may have been caused by spontaneous human combustion. The victim, 65-year-old Danny Van Zant, was found inside his home by family members who had gone there to check in on him and make sure that he was all right. Sheriff Ron Lockhart said that the body, or what was left of it, was burned to the point of incineration. Because there was no fire damage to the furniture or any other part of the room, this suggests that Mr. Van Zant's body had burned slowly and at a very low heat. Similar conditions have been found in many past cases of spontaneous human combustion throughout the world. Though many doctors and scientists are still debating the cause of these rare cases, these terrifying deaths do occur. In 2010, a man's death in Galway, Ireland, was ruled to be the result of spontaneous combustion, and in 2011, a man was reported to have burst into flames at a railway station in Gothenburg, Sweden. As for this case in Oklahoma, Sheriff Lockhart says it is possible that alcohol and cigarettes may have played a part in the man's death and caused the fire that consumed his body. I'm Andrew Lake, and oddly enough, that's the news.
Thank you, Andrew. We did a whole show on spontaneous human combustion with Larry Arnold. Gosh, it's been a long time, but go check out the archives. You can check out that mission. Larry Arnold. Burning questions? I know Dr. Dreck has one. Please, Doctor.
Yes, well, I had a burning question, but the ointment took care of that. But I do have another question, a serious question, pertaining to the Jewish legend of the golem. Could the spirit that animated the golem be a jinn? Is that considered a jinn?
Good question.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's again another example of a jinn doing mischief. By nature, they existed way before humans, and thus had more time to populate and become more diverse. And that's part of the reason why they are can be accounting for a lot of the paranormal activities or biblical activities, such as the golem.
What's so interesting about all of this stuff is that you realize that some of the descriptions sound very familiar through various belief systems, various folklore, legends, and things like that. Where, like you said, the golem, the Nephilim, the gentle giants, all of these things, could it be we're all talking about the same thing just by different names, which I think is Marwan's point. I want to move up to modern times quickly. We have a few photos to show. Eric, if you bring up the Jinn article from the Iranian newspaper, this is, there it is. So this was in an Iranian newspaper basically purporting like, hey, look, the Jinn is real. The story goes there was this cave, a man was found dead and a camera next to him when they developed the film. There's this photo, and it made the circulations. And then, of course, this other photo surfaced not much later that most likely hoaxed. Same exact creature. I know you've seen these photos, Marwan, before.
Yes.
So, but people are talking about it and looking for it. And if a newspaper puts a photograph up like this, that certainly does validate a lot of people's belief system. What was the response when people start seeing photos like this?
Oh, this went viral before viral was even a word. You know, it spread like wildfire through the Middle East. People felt it's a verification of their belief of the existence of jinn. People flocked to it as an explanation to a lot of the paranormal. And it was the only piece of really evidence that ever existed for them, considering how it is to actually capture jinn or have proof of jinn.
Okay, we have a video clip that I want to play, and we're going to talk over it. It's just the video. This was security footage that was taken in 2009, September of 2009, in Palestine. Here it is. I know you've seen this too before, Marwan. You've got it looks like a man crawling through the streets, and you've got a security officer holding up basically his camera cell phone on the security camera, and you see this guy looks like he's crawling. I mean, what did you think when you saw this video, Marwan?
I thought it was the creepiest thing. I mean, you could sit it down and say it's a man crawling, but there's something about the movement that's really creepy. It really feels authentic. One of the famous descriptions of jinn that they crawl, or one of the races within them is known to be crawling. And I just find it the most disturbing, very creepy video. And I mean, it just looks surreal to me,
Right. No, and that was absolutely freaky and disturbing, no matter where you stand on it. Laura had some thoughts on it. Laura.
Well, actually, I have some comments here that our loyal viewers in the chat room are wondering, how is it that you think jinn are the panacea of all paranormal? Do they really explain UFOs? And I think Matt might have had a question to do with that. Do they really explain UFOs? We did talk about mischief here on Earth, but up there?
Well, definitely. I mean, they're not earthbound, they're not really governed by gravity and the laws of physics as we are, given that they are non-physical beings to start with, and that they exist in a different physical nature, in a different dimension. Like I mentioned, a lot of the lights and UFO sightings defy the laws of physics as we know them on planet Earth, breaking away from gravity, moving from zero velocity, accelerating so fast. This would crush any living being as we know them. And hence, it's not just me that is out there saying that this could be a spiritual or a demonic or a jinn. There's a lot of other, and even more prominent scientists out there that are saying that a lot of these UFO sightings can only be described away as a spiritual or non-physical creatures or crafts.
Right. Okay, Matt Moniz, our own ufologist, has some thoughts. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, having worked on the subject for close to 25 years and investigated most of the major cases, I know for a fact that a lot of them are physical, because what would a spiritual being need with a physical craft that crashes and leaves remains? But that aside.
No, yeah, sure. Landings.
He also is mistaken about physics. Working as a scientist, I can tell you that if you build your own anti-gravity field, you inside it will not be subject to the gravity that's exerted when you're flying and doing your exaggerated movements, because the person would be in a zero null space. In other words, gravity would not have any effect. So you could be a physical living creature existing in a physical craft that it generates its own gravitational field, and you would not be subject to the forces of inertia. So the thought that, having, a non-physical being is not necessarily untrue. You could be correct that there could be jinn out there that are being mistaken, but in a lot of cases with UFOs, it's physical things, and a spiritual being would have no need for a physical craft that causes physical effects.
Yeah,
that's measurable.
Sure. Good point. There's crash sites, there's landing sites, there's debris, things like that. But certainly, sometimes the UFO experiences, especially with abductees, very frightening. They're seeing some entity come toward them, and maybe there's middle ground here. Matt makes a great point that defies the laws of physics as we understand them, but maybe in advanced technology. It's what keeps us going, isn't it?
It's within our technology. The mystery. I agree.
Yeah. Do you accept the possibility, though, that there might be intelligent life from other planets, or do you think this is just purely spiritual things that we're seeing?
No, I totally am convinced there's a life out there. Just statistically speaking, there must be life out there, and that life must be, at some point intelligent, and perhaps even enough to do some space travel.
Right.
I just don't believe that we are necessarily seeing creatures from other planets, given the hardship of, travel. If they're anything, they're going to send their artificial intelligence, their robots, and it won't be the physical beings themselves, just to my opinion.
Sure, understood. Marwan, we are just about out of time, but I want to thank you. The name of this graphic novel is called Jinn Warriors. It's a graphic novel. We'll have links to your website from ours, and you can check that out. All of this, obviously, inspiration for your work, your storyline, and your art. Really cool stuff. I like how you combine religion and lore to create a really moving picture. Laura's got a copy here. We just got it today, and we're all going to be fighting over it over beer and wings. Marwan, thank you so much for joining us tonight on 30-Odd Minutes. Thank you to all the oddballs here, Eric in the engine room, Dr. Drek, Matt, Andrew, and Laura, and myself. Until next time, folks, stay odd. Yeah.